The end of the year is fast approaching, and with it often comes a time of self-reflection. I'm not sure if it's the leaves changing color, cold weather, or the fact that the sun is setting so much earlier. Recently, I've been reflecting on the biggest lessons that have shaped my late 20s. These are lessons I wish I knew sooner, but I believe the most important thing here is that you keep learning no matter what your age is. So here are my 5 lessons I would teach to my younger self. Lesson number 1, be a lifelong learner. For me, education is something that is vitally important. I'm not talking about education like in terms of college and more traditional school in that sense. What I'm talking about is more of like the self-pursuit of continually going. Higher education and education in general is great in and of itself, but you should be having this ability to continue to push yourself to learn and to learn more and more. One of the great ways that you can do that is through books. My reading habit has slowly but surely changed over the years. I was a pretty slow reader. And I would just get frustrated with myself. I would not fully understand what I was reading in the text. Through reading more and more, I found it difficult to comprehend everything that I was reading. I found that I could only read for like 7 to 10 minutes at a time before I would really start to lose focus and my mind would begin to just trickle off. It wasn't until my later 20s when I was like learning that you have to read and you kind of have to build up the practice of reading that I realized that I could actually get better at this and that I could master that. Now I can sit down and I read, and I can read for 45 minutes to an hour at a time and be engulfed in the information that I'm reading and be able to retain it and actually regurgitate what it is that I'm learning. But that was a skill that I had to learn, and it's something that I wish I would have pushed myself through earlier in my 20s. But there would have been a lot of other lessons I would have learned through books sooner if I did. So a couple of books that helped shape me when I actually started to develop the practice of reading were James Clear's Atomic Habits. It's really great at teaching you the importance of good habits. In this book, James talks a lot about habit stacking, 1% rule for getting 1% better every single day, and building routines. I want to go into a more deep dive of this book in a later video, but for now, I'm just going to add it to this list as one of the top 3 books that has actually shaped me in my thinking today in my late 20s. Next is a book that my granddad gave me when I was actually a teenager, How to Win Friends and Influence People by Dale Carnegie. This book has taught me some super valuable lessons in terms of relationships with people. It's taught me mostly that nobody wants to be talked at and nobody wants to be talked down to. When communicating with people, you never want to use accusatory language. What happens is that immediately causes people to throw up a wall and to not even want to listen to what it is that you have to say. There's many other valuable lessons I've learned through this book. I highly recommend reading it. It's one of those that I have read multiple times through. Will continue to read as I get older and older. The final book on this list that has helped me through my 20s is Willpower Doesn't Work by Benjamin Hardy. This book really taught me the importance of environmental design and then not just mustering through and just getting something done and realizing that that willpower muscle that we have, we're actually utilizing it in a wrong way. A couple of other things that helped me with this reading practice has been getting a Kindle. Kindle has really just helped me in terms of being able to have more books at my disposal. My wife and I actually did a video on why the Kindle is one of our favorite things we've added to our reading routine. I'll put a link in the description below. For me, the Kindle has become invaluable in terms of being able to increase my reading habit. Finally, one last thing I'll say, this is something I had to learn, but that audiobooks are just as much books as actual books. Just because you're listening to something does not disqualify it from you actually learning it. For me, listening is actually a way better method for me to ingest and to intake the information I am learning. My reading has slowly but surely gotten to where I can read more and more words per minute and actually comprehend what I'm reading. But I feel very, very good at my listening comprehension, and so therefore I can listen to things a lot faster than when I can actually read them. Lesson number 2 that I wish I learned at an earlier age was saving for the future. What I've learned so far is that you don't have to have a specific reason to save money. That saving for the future actually can in and of itself be a specific reason. Oftentimes we're saving for down payments on houses or down payment on a car or saving up for a new camera that we're wanting to purchase or an item, fill in the blank. But often, I got stuck into the mindset of, well, I have to be saving for something specific, otherwise I should be using my money for something else. That oftentimes just having a set of savings set aside, Dave Ramsey talks about having your 2 to 3 months savings fund or 2 to 3 month emergency fund, as he calls it, that allows you in case whatever life throws at you, you're able to still survive for anywhere from 2 to 6 months after with all of your expenses saved up. All right, the next lesson that I wish I taught myself earlier in my 20s was to enjoy the journey. Oftentimes we think so big about what are our dreams and what are our goals and where do we want to be at, 5 years from now, 10 years from now, 20 years from now. These are all great things to do, great practices that we can do in terms of like visualizing where it is that we're trying to go. Oftentimes having a destination in mind really helps you along that journey. But often where I personally got so distracted was focusing so much on the destination of where I'm going and not enjoying the journey enough. Fact of the matter is, if you don't enjoy what you're doing on the path to getting to that goal or to that dream, chances are you're not actually going to stick with it long enough to actually see those dreams come true. For me, a lot of it was sitting back, enjoying the process, finding joy in the process, maybe more so than the actual outcome itself. All right, the next lesson I wish I learned earlier in my 20s was to not be so hard on myself. And this kind of ties in with the previous point that I said about enjoying the journey, but taking it a little bit step further. Recognize the fact that when you first start on the path towards something new, that you're a beginner. That's what you are, a beginner. You're somebody who doesn't necessarily know exactly what it is that it takes to get there. Often for me, I found that whenever it came to learning something new or to starting something new, I wanted to be the expert at it right from the beginning. Doing this hindered me from starting many projects, one of those projects being this YouTube channel. I've been wanting to start this YouTube channel for the past 3 years now. Since then, I've been studying everything I can about the production of YouTube, how to be better at lighting, about how to tell a better story, about how to do all of that. But at the end of the day, I've learned more in the last 2-3 weeks of actually producing videos than I have over the last 2 to 3 years of studying. That's because there's power in actually taking action and putting what you've learned to practice. I hope you enjoyed today's video. Really, this was just a video message for my younger self and kind of a reminder for my future self to just continue to push forward, to continue to be a lifelong learner, and to continue to push the boundaries in terms of what it is that you think you're capable of doing.